to talk a little bit about what we do at Phoenix Detached Youth Project. We are a small staff team of 3 members of staff and a couple of sessional staff and volunteers, and we work with young people who are 12 to 25 in the Meadowell area of North Shields, North Tyneside. It's in the top 1.23% of deprivation in the country, and the area we work in has the highest level of domestic abuse and teenage pregnancy in the area. We are detached youth workers, so it means we spend our time going out onto the streets to meet young people. By talking to young people on their terms, we can find out what their needs are and then develop programmes and activities that meet these needs. So all of our work is young people led. Last year, even though we're a small staff team, we worked with 350 different young people, and this resulted in 4,877 interactions. We work 5 nights a week, so we don't work in the normal 9 to 5 hours because young people's problems and crises aren't confined to 9 to 5 hours. And we work with young people in group work, on a one-to-one basis, and through our informal education packs. The informal education packs are based on what are the issues facing young people. So at the minute, this year, we are working on packs around self-harm, legal highs and domestic abuse. We've been fortunate that some of the young people we work with have been prepared to share their examples and stories of domestic abuse for other young people, so that young people we work with can see that this does impact on them. It happens to young people where they live, it's not just happening on the soaps. And unfortunately, where we work, domestic abuse has a very high level of acceptance and tolerance across the generations, and we want the next generation to know that domestic abuse is not acceptable. In previous years, we've developed packs around sexual health, alcohol and knife crime, and again this was as a result of working with both victims and perpetrators of knife crime. The group work we're involved in varies from work with young parents to urban art to intergenerational project and Helping Hands. And Helping Hands is one of the major pieces of work that I'm involved in, which supports young people with mental health and emotional well-being. Unfortunately, there's a very long waiting list for young people to get referred to see psychiatrists and psychologists. So by running the Helping Hands sessions, we can offer support to young people when they need it most, and then offer that support as long as they need it. And it's great that some of the young people that we knew a few years ago who didn't have the confidence to leave the house, some of them are now away at university. And it's great that they come back on the holidays from university and kind of talk to the other group members and kind of inspire them that they can make a change in their life. And due to the demand, we've just set up our 4th Helping Hands group. One young man was referred to me by his mum who was really concerned because he hadn't left his bedroom for months. So I went round to the house to talk to him, and he was kind of talking to him through the bedroom door, then eventually kind of came out and he said to me, "My wheelie bin goes out more than me." And I was thinking, that was just such like a tragic thing. That, you know, that was kind of his way of thinking. But we've been working with him and now he's back at school, so that's fantastic. We also work with young people on a one-to-one basis, and again this can really vary depending on what the needs of young people, but just a few examples are that we took one group away and we were saying to them, you know, what they felt about the weekend, and they just said it was great to be away from home because some of them, even though they were 15 or 16, had never had a night away from home. And then 2 of the young people said, oh, it was great to sleep in a bed. And I was thinking, well, what do they mean by that? It turned out one of the young women sleeps on the sofa, and the other young woman slept in a bedroom where she had no door on the bedroom and was actually sleeping in the bed that her gran had died in. By chance, a few weeks later, we found out about a hotel closing down, so we were able to secure 2 beds for the young people, and they just felt like Christmas had come early. Another major issue impacting on a lot of the young people we work with is food and fuel poverty, and this isn't just young people who are on benefits or have had their benefits stopped. It can be young people who are on like low paid jobs, 0-hour contracts or commission based work where they don't have like a regular steady income to rely on. And in the last few weeks alone, I've had 2 young women who, although they're employed, they're currently on maternity leave and they can't afford to live on the statutory maternity pay that they've been given. I think ultimately at the Phoenix we want to inspire young people to believe in themselves and to respect themselves and others, and I think ultimately the way we would like to do this is to support all young people in gaining employment, but like genuine employment opportunities. And last year we were able to support 20 young people into work. However, for a lot of young people to even begin to contemplate getting work, there's a lot of support they need in order to overcome barriers to do this. So if young people can get jobs, it not only benefits themselves and their friends and their families, but it also kind of inspires other young people in the community that they can make a difference and a change, and then ultimately they're contributing to the economy. So now I'd like to introduce you to Sam, who I have the privilege of working with.
Hello. The Phoenix is not just a project, it's part of our community. Every day members of the public pop in for chats, bring their children along, or even just to see a friendly face. How am I part of the Phoenix? 14 months ago I walked into the Phoenix with no confidence and no job. I introduced myself and asked if there was someone to help me to do a CV. After weekly visits I done my CV, met new people and even started going on parent trips. Building confidence and talking and interacting with other mums. I started to enjoy going to the Phoenix and felt as I belonged there a little. Becky even offered to come along to my bank and help me open a savings account as I had no confidence to go along by myself. Saving £10 a month was all I could achieve. The Phoenix surprisingly did not judge, they offered help and support. A few mums from the groups were going along to interviews for care work that the Phoenix had arranged. Becky and I spoke and she offered to give them a call and tell them a little bit about me. A short while later I was offered an interview, taking the chance with both hands. My interview was successful, I was given the job. I needed a police check which would cost £44 and a cheap mobile for contact. The Rainmaker Foundation helped with them and I'm still happy in my job now. I have my own car and I take my first ever holiday abroad with my son at Disneyland in a few weeks. One thing I've learned from the people at the Phoenix is never judge somebody on who they are, what they've done, because when someone's got a little bit of faith in you, you can have a brighter future and become a better person. I'm 26 now, so I'll sadly not be working with the Phoenix as much as I'd like. I'd only wish I had worked with them when I was younger. I know I'd always be welcome to pop my head in for a chat. Thanks for everything to the Phoenix and the Rainmaker.
I don't know how to follow that, but I'll try my best. I'm just going to talk briefly about why the Rainmaker works. And obviously it's been quite an interesting, we've had a lot of funding over the years from a whole range of different projects, but it's quite a privilege to be involved with the Rainmaker because it's different. And because of the way they did it, it was really strange, because I always remember getting an email off this woman called Manuela, and I thought it was a prank. And then I had to investigate off other funding trusts, and they did say it did exist. And we were quite blown away that we were invited up to London to do like a Dragon's Den pitch, as it were. So it was really strange for us, but it was a great experience. And it was great to bring a young person that had never been to London before, who then pitched. We then actually got 4 years, we had 3 years fabulous funding, and then we've got a further year, and it's made a massive difference because it's allowed me and Becky, who do most of the funding for the project, to do a lot more work because you've not got the problem trying to raise money. And Mike and Manuela came down for 24 hours, which is totally unknown. So if you were trying to pull one over on a funder, you've no chance, because for 24 hours you can't keep up a game or whatever. You get a good looking at. So it was brilliant, really for everybody involved. And it was great for the young people as well. And they actually did an urban art Rainmaker with a man catching money for when Mike and Manny came up. It was just great, and the young people loved doing it. We then, it was important for us, I think, that we get money and it goes directly to the point of need. So it's a lot better in the fact of we have a partner who says, what do you need funding for? We'll fund you. And then they trust you to deliver the work that's needed on the ground, and that's really fantastic, and it works really well. Obviously, we've got a lot of poverty in the area, we've already talked about, and to give you an example, there's a lot of young people getting sanctioned for 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 months, and in that time they've got no money whatsoever. There's also an awful lot of poverty, and because of that, an example of the knock-on effect of that is I was talking to the police inspector, and he says first-time shoplifting of desperate people has gone up 11% in the last year. So we continue to work with young people, and last year we had a young woman approach me on the 17th of December, and she'd just been sanctioned. She had no money whatsoever, and she'd been in prison before, and she says, you know what, Mike, I may as well go and commit a crime because at least I'll have heating, lighting and some food over Christmas. Not long after that, it got a bit frustrating because we then had another young family come along, and it was a young woman I'd worked with 4 years before. She turned up and she broke down in tears and said they had no money for over Christmas, any food, any heating, and they had a 2-year-old child, and they didn't know how they were going to manage, and she remembered me working with her 4 years before, so she came to us as a last resort. And I said to her, if we had a magic wand, we'd wave it and we'd try and sort something out, and we'd see what we could scrape together. Then, bizarrely enough, the next day we went to the theatre with the intergenerational project with the old and young, and we then had sent a report in to Will about some of the problems we're having with people with poverty. He then fantastically sent £1,500 down, and what I'd just like to do is to say what we managed to do with the £1,500. And with that £1,500 we supported 37 young people and families. We supported 14 young people with fuel poverty, 11 with food. We supported 5 young people to go on training to access work. We supported 4 young people with travel, because a lot of young people get work and then they can't actually get to the work before they get paid, so it was the travel to get there before they got paid. We had 3 young people, including Sam, who actually needed DBS checks, so bizarrely enough the company said, if we employ you, you've got to do your own DBS check and then you get it back in 3 months' time. Well, the young people were saying, well, we can't take that job because we can't pay for the DBS check. So what we did was pay for the DBS check to then actually do that. And we had another young man who'd been unemployed for 6 years, and he got a food parcel for one of the companies we deal with, and the guy at the company was going through a rough time, and he actually decided to take the lad on because he said he was a painter in his thank you card. And the guy was under a lot of stress at the time, and he turned to me and he says, it pulled me out of quite a stressful time for me and my company, because it made me feel amazing that I could help this young man who'd been unemployed for 6 years. And they took him on, and he actually was really good for them. But they said to us, we can't keep him because he hasn't got a driving licence and he can't drive. But we can't pay for it. So once again, we used the Rainmaker money to pay for this guy to do his driving lessons. And unbelievably, he passed first time, which I didn't.
Or the second.
Yeah, or the third. But anyway, that's another story. And then, you've thrown me now, Becky.
He's got a company card.
But from that £1,500, 4 young people we'd actually successfully got into work. So it's just about focusing, using the money in the right ways to make the right difference. Then as a follow-on from that, Mike Dixon rang me one day and he says, I've met a guy at Euston Station. He was a Geordie. And he met him at Euston Station, and he said to the guy who was a Geordie, where are you from? And the guy says, I'm from the Meadowell Estate. Unbelievably, this Rainmaker was actually from the Meadowell Estate. He grew up in, and Mike Dixon says, you won't believe this, but we fund a project from the Meadowell Estate. So now we're in touch with this Geordie guy, and you can't take the boy out of the Meadowell. He's as mad as a box of frogs, and he reminds me of the Meadowell when I meet him. And he's actually a lovely bloke, and he came down to see us with his team, and he walked through the estate. No anybody else walks through the estate, but he walked through the estate with his team to see me, and I was laughing to myself, thinking, you can tell he's lived here before. And he was actually brilliant, and he says, what do you want, Mike? I says, we don't need nothing at the minute, but I'll come back to you. And then I had a young lad come in, and he'd had a heart transplant, and he wanted to raise money for the Heart Foundation. And he actually says to me, can we do a flash mob? But we need to do something, and we need to make these organs and have people running around in these organs. And I says, that sounds a great idea. So I thought, this is the right job for this Geordie guy. So I rang him up and I says, I know it sounds a bit mad, but are you up for running around dressed as a heart organ? And he says, yeah, I'll dress up as a heart organ as long as you sort 4 other organs out and make me staff look sillier than me. So I says, you're on. So, and he says, how much is it going to cost? I says, I don't know at the minute. We're on this little journey. But hopefully we'll actually come back to you and you can pay for the organs. And we're going to then donate the organs to the Royal RVI Hospital afterwards. So that's work in progress. And I said, we won't waste money, by the way. You know, even though he had a lot of money, I said, we won't waste money on. We'll do our best we can, you know. So I'm going to take him up on that. And he'll get a shock at some point when I invite him down to be an organ. Where are we now? Right, and then obviously what we were talking about, what is the Rainmaker? And we thought as workers it's past the parcel. It's like passing a parcel. You pass a parcel and you open it and you don't know what you're going to get. And you open it and you get this Geordie guy who we would have never have met. And then we go on this bad journey and he says, you need to meet the milkman. And I was thinking, this is getting bizarre by the minute. And another charity was saying, how's your fundraising going, Mike? And I said, it's pretty bizarre at the minute, you know. And I met the milkman, and he happens to want 2% of the milk in the UK. And I met the milkman, and he says, I don't really want to fund your charity, but I'll fund your kids doing something with the Tech Hub, which is a thing that they support in Newcastle. And then I went to the Tech Hub, and we then spoke to the Tech Hub, and the Tech Hub says, we'll introduce the artists that you've got who do urban art to urban art companies, urban graphic art design companies. So I says, that's what we need. We need to inspire young people that just because where they're from, they can't go on and do amazing things. So what we've done is, and the young people in return are going to do an art piece for the company on the wall, and they're then going to go out for lunch with them. And I said to this Doug Scott, do you want to come and open it? And he says, yes, I'll come up and open it. And so he's going to come up and open it. And he says, I'll take them out for lunch as well. I says, as long as it's not pizza and chips, because they're sick of eating pizza and chips. He says, no problem, we'll do better than that. So I'd just like to say that's it really, apart from a young person the other day said to me, he says, who are these people? He says, why did he help me? He says, why do these total strangers help me in my greatest need when I've got nothing? And I said, well, you've got to remember that, you know, just because people talk about posh people not caring about the poor, I said, it's not always the case. There's some amazing people out there. And hopefully some of you can be some of those amazing people. So thanks very much for your time.